Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Brews with Brian, a craft beer review podcast. Craft beer is beer that is brewed in smaller breweries, not these big corporate machine breweries that we're all aware of. Craft beer takes time and patience, and the people that brew this stuff care about the product they're delivering to us. So on this week's episode, I'm reviewing SeaQuench Ale from Dogfish Head Brewery, Accumulation from Belgium Brewing Company, and Lily Flagg Milk Stout from Straight to Ale. Don't forget to follow the show on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, and Spotify. So remember to like and subscribe where necessary if you think we need it or deserve it. So let's kick this show off. And first up on today's show, we have SeaQuench Ale from Dogfish Head Brewery out of Milton, Delaware. SeaQuench Ale has an ABV of 4.9% and a rotating availability. The description from the website says, SeaQuench Ale is our session sour quencher made with lemon peel, black lime, and sea salt. It's a citrusy tart union of 3 German styles of beer blissfully brewed into one. We begin by brewing a straightforward Kolsch with lots of wheat and Munich malt. Then we brew a salty Goza with black limes, coriander, and R sea salt. We follow it up with a citrusy tart Berliner Weiss made with lime juice and lemon peel. All 3 beers are then blended together in the fermentation tank to create this German hybrid. This beer pours a golden amber color with a tiny fizzy white head that fades almost instantly to leave just a trace of lace. The aroma is strongest of a sour lemon lime smell that has a decent showing of a slightly musty wheat aroma. The taste begins with a tart green apple and lemon lime sour taste that has a little bit of a grainy backbone. As the taste advances, the sour lime gets stronger, with the wheat seems to dwindle as some light sweetness of a tangerine flavor comes to the tongue. With a little bit of grapefruit coming to the taste at the end, one is left to a rather crisp and moderately sour, but refreshingly tasty beer that lingers on the tongue. The body of this beer is very light, with a carbonation level that is quite high. For the mix of sour and tart, the feel is very great and makes this quite crushable brew. Overall, I'm traditionally not a big sour fan, but I do like this one. It is not over the top and sour, but has enough to satisfy the sour taste buds, all while being refreshing and very flavorful. This is really a great sour session brew. And Dogfish Head makes some fantastic stuff, especially in the IPA market, so if you can find anything from Dogfish Head, especially some IPAs, try it out. You will not be disappointed. But overall, I'm going to give SeaQuench Ale from Dogfish Head Brewery 4 stars. And next up on this week's show, we have Accumulation from Belgium Brewing Company out of Fort Collins, Colorado. Accumulation has an ABV of 6.2% and a fall time availability. The description from the website says, this winter, IBUs start accumulating like snow in Colorado with our new Accumulation White IPA. Brewing a white IPA is not only a way to salute the white beauty falling from the sky, but a direct revolt to the long-standing tradition of brewing dark beers for winter. At least that's what our rebellious brewer Grady Hull likes to claim, as he shovels in plenty of new hop varietals and a bit of wheat for a smooth mouthfeel. Stack up a few cases of Accumulation White IPA to keep your long nights glowing blizzard white. This beer pours a nice, fluffy, foamy, one-finger dense white head with great retention and lacing. It's quite hazy, almost sediment-level pale blonde color. Aromas feature the Amarillo hops out front, fruity, melon, and a bit grassy. Then mosaic hops are there. Thankfully, they're subdued, mild tropical citrus and some dank notes, a touch of creamy, doughy wheat. Otherwise, nothing outside of the big hops, no fruity esters, no spiciness, no yeast additions, no Belgian wheat beer. Tasting this beer, it brings more fruit hops out front, citrus, tangerine, some stone fruit, and a little melon, which leads into a little citrus rind, melon rind, and some creamy, doughy malt and wheat, but not too much. Fruits seem more from hops than from any esters, and definitely no spiciness. A bit of creaminess from the wheat is there as well, with a dry finish. Medium bitterness on the finish, although almost none up front. Overall, this is nothing like any other white IPA. This is more like they threw some creamy wheat and softened a regular IPA, somewhat like a halfway New England IPA. It's not a bad beer, just not a true white IPA, as there's no Belgian wheat beer aspect at all. New Belgium again makes some fantastic stuff. Fat Tire's great, and there's plenty of other beers they make that are good. This one just missed the mark for me. So overall, I'm giving Accumulation from New Belgium Brewing Company 3 stars. And the last beer on today's show is Lily Flagg Milk Stout from Straight to Ale out of Huntsville, Alabama. Lily Flagg Milk Stout has an ABV of 5% and a year-round availability. The description from the website says, Lily Flagg Milk Stout is named for Huntsville's most famous quadruped, a prized cow owned by local plantation owner Samuel B. Moore. Lily Flagg was honored as one of the world's best butterfat producers in 1892 at an exposition in Chicago. This dark, rich beer contains tons of roasted malt goodness, hints of chocolate and coffee, and a creamy mouthfeel from the addition of milk sugars during the brewing process. This beer pours a frothy, crisp, toasted mocha head over a very dark cola brown, nearly black body. Retention is below average and lacing is light and spotty. Aromas of malt generate plenty of moderate roasty barley up front from the secondary notes of coffee and cocoa. While there is a moderate lactose sweetness among the malt profile, it does not immediately stand out that this beer is considered a milk stout. The potency is moderate as well. Tasting this beer, you get hit with flavors of medium roasted barley, toasted caramel grain, cocoa nibs, and an earthy, acidic coffee bean with a soft lactose sweetness. It's well balanced by the earthy roast flavors and slightly less sweet overall than many milk stouts generally are. It's got delicate undertones of dark fruit, slightly dry with a lingering note of cold, acidic roast trailing off into the finish. The texture is light, oily, slick, creamy, smooth, and mildly dry. Carbonation is moderate, generating a few medium frothiness and a softly crisp finish. The body is medium for the style, medium heavy overall. Balance is slightly earthier, bitter with the roast over sweet. The alcohol presence is low, and there are no off characters at all. But overall, Lily Flagg is a milk stout more in texture than it is in flavor, as I got more flavors of roasted malt and toasted caramel than lactose sweetness and chocolate. The texture itself is enjoyable. It's creamy, frothy, and very smooth, despite not falling directly in line with the milk stout guidelines. I enjoyed the sweetness balancing with the roasted malts, favoring this slightly over a more traditional example of a sweet milk stout. The drinkability is decent for the beer overall thanks to the closer balance, although still filling in as a stout happens to be. I could only manage one or two of these as they sit fairly heavy on the stomach, but I love everything Straight Ale does. Even this one might be my least favorite, but it's still really, really good. You still got to try it if you can get it. Again, Straight Ale, one of the breweries that are closer to me than most. I can typically get anything Straight Ale I want from my local craft beer shop that I buy all my stuff from. So if you can find Lily Flagg Milk Stout, give it a shot. You should like it. But overall, I'm going to give Lily Flagg Milk Stout from Straight Ale 4 stars. And that is going to do it for this week's episode of Brews with Brian. I want to thank everybody for listening. The show continues to grow each and every week. It's just astonishing to me how big the show has gotten. And it's relatively small, I guess, by podcasting terms. But for me, I didn't think anybody would listen, and I've been proven wrong. But on this week's episode, I reviewed SeaQuench Ale from Dogfish Head Brewery, Accumulation from Belgium Brewing Company, and Lily Flagg Milk Stout from Straight Ale. You can check the show out on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, and Spotify. So subscribe and like where necessary if you think we deserve it here. I want to give a special shout out again this week to Southern Package of Sheffield, Alabama, where I buy all of my craft beer. So if you live in Northwest Alabama or can get to Sheffield, go there to buy your beer. They'll treat you right. They're fantastic people. I can't say enough good things about them. But that's going to do it for this week's episode of Brews with Brian, and we'll see you next time.